Welcome to Bamfordrose and another forum chat. Before we get started on this week's forum chat, it really helps us if you can like, comment and subscribe to our channel. This week I'm going to cover the Decat options available for each model, because continually I can pick up from posts on various forums that some people, especially new to the Aston world, are slightly confused about which model year can have which sort of modification applied. We'll start at DB7. This is the exhaust manifold from the DB7 V12 Vantage. Now, it hasn't got a catalyst in it, and if we quickly show the picture of the DB9 V12 exhaust manifold, there you can see the difference between the two. The DB9 exhaust manifold has a catalyst for a group of 3 cylinders, so there you can see on the picture there's a catalyst, two in place for the side of the engine. And now flip back to DB7 and we can see that that manifold has got no catalysts in. Now you might think, by the fact that it hasn't got a catalyst in, that'd be a really good manifold, better than the DB9. Unfortunately, the pipe diameter of that DB7 setup is far too small, and that exhaust manifold is actually quite restrictive. But in terms of simple decat, then there isn't one to do to the primary decat on a DB7. And if we now look at the intermediate pipe section of DB7, then you can see the big silencer box in the center and the 2 silencer boxes which come out the rear of the car. The front of the intermediate pipe connects to a catalyst, which is pretty high flowing on the DB7, so I wouldn't touch that anyway. The modification of choice on a DB7 is actually to get rid of that big center box silencer section. There are some sports sections out there and they give a much fruity exhaust note when that center section is removed. So now we do go on to DB9. So here we can see in a picture, one on top of the other, of the DB9 exhaust manifold and the DB9 catalyst. Now actually this manifold and catalyst was the same for DB9, DBS, V12 Vantage, V12 Vantage S, Virage, Rapide, any V12 engine pre 5.2 twin turbo. So there are several options available here. So the first option is to remove that secondary cat and fit a straight through pipe. That will give you a nice sound increase but no real noticeable performance increase. The next thing to do is to take that exhaust manifold off and remove the primary catalysts from the manifold. Weld it back up again, fit that back to car and fit a high flow secondary catalyst. This is going to deliver about 30-35 bhp and give a really nice exhaust note. Next we go to V8 Vantage, and again we show both 4.3 and 4.7 litre manifolds in the same pic here. So on the 4.3 V8 manifold at the top, you can see that there is no catalyst within that exhaust manifold, and up to 2010 4.7s, they used the same 4.3 exhaust manifold. So all cars fitted with that exhaust manifold have the big catalyst that we picture here. So the 4.3 and early 4.7s have no catalyst in the manifold, they just have this big downstream catalyst. Now you can see where the flange and the studs are, that's the entry. You can see the before cat lambda sensor, and then that heat witness mark is the primary catalyst. Then there's an air gap, you can see that there's no heat witness mark where that secondary lambda sensor would bolt in. And then there is a secondary catalyst in the same can within that catalyst body. So on a 4.3 or early 4.7 V8, you can't really do a decatalyst, because if you remove that complete assembly, you'll have no catalyst present whatsoever. So you can either do manifolds and catalyst upgrade, or you could take that big catalyst assembly, you could knock out that front brick between the 2 bosses for the lambda sensors that you see there, leaving the second brick in place, and then remap the engine management system. So this is a good mod to make. That's probably going to get about 20 brake horsepower. If we then scroll back up, we can see the 4.7 post 2010 manifold. So this was fitted all the way to the introduction of the 4-litre Merc based Vantage. And now you can see the difference. This exhaust manifold does have a primary cap. And now we picture the secondary cap. So on the 4.7 later exhaust manifold, you can remove the primary cap from that exhaust manifold, and you could leave in place the factory standard secondary catalyst, or you could have a high flow cat fitted. You could even, if you wanted to just increase exhaust note slightly, just remove that secondary catalyst, keeping the primary catalyst in place. So this is the big confusion on a V8 Vantage. The later exhaust manifold can have a secondary cat delete pipe fitted, as was standard with GT8 or the performance pack that goes on the AMR cars, leaving the primary catalyst in place. And some people are searching for that V8 secondary cat delete pipe and wanting to fit it to a 4.3, which unfortunately you can't, because that would leave it without any catalyst whatsoever. And because the distance between manifold and intermediate pipe is different, means that you couldn't fit the later cat delete pipe to your 4.3 V8 Vantage anyway. If you didn't want to go for manifolds and catalysts as an upgrade, and you wanted that halfway house, nice cost effective performance modification, nice increase in exhaust note, then removal of certain catalysts will achieve that halfway house. The catalyst is there for emissions purposes, and what that means is that it will actually be compromising maximum power output, because if the engine was run at the air-fuel ratio for maximum power, it would overheat the catalyst. So as bizarre as it seems, or as bizarre as it actually is in reality, the fuel AFR ratio has to enrich to cool down the catalyst at high speed. So the car is actually consuming more fuel on wide open throttle, having the catalyst present, if there was no catalyst there whatsoever. So removal of the catalyst is only ever going to make the engine more efficient, give you more power. On the V12 applications, it eradicates the risk of ingesting the cat if there was a misfire. That doesn't happen on V8s. So there is only positive things to come from cat removal. You're going to pass MOT on whatever catalyst is left, whether you've deleted the primary cat and it's a factory catalyst that's left, that will pass MOT, or if you've had an aftermarket system, certainly our catalysts are specified to pass MOT emission standards without any problem. I've read on forums that removal of primary cats or secondary cats comes with some compromises. Well, you're going to be consuming less fuel, you're going to be having more power, the exhaust note is going to be better, so I don't really see any negatives unless you didn't remap the engine management system to realise those benefits, or to prevent OBD lights coming on when the catalyst efficiency monitors were triggered because there was no catalyst present. Perhaps on the V12 is only one slight downside, in that if we go back to the picture of the DB9 V12 manifold, you can see there that that catalyst can is a very, very large volume, and now we're removing the catalyst from it. That allows there to be a big cavity in the exhaust manifold, which the gas can now go into, and that acts as sort of a silencer. So if you did a primary Decat on a V12 keeping standard secondaries, your exhaust note is actually going to be a touch quieter than what it was before. On the V8 system, and this will be the exhaust manifold with a primary cat, so it's going to be the later 4.7 system. If you did a primary Decat from that exhaust manifold, if you were very sensitive listening to certain sounds, you might now hear an air gush a gas noise within the exhaust manifold because the catalyst is removed and it's acted as sort of sound deadening, and you can sort of hear that gas flow through the exhaust system, but you'd have to be very critical to pick up on that. So as far as I see, there's absolutely no downside whatsoever from performing catalyst removal, whichever option it was. Going to give you better sound, going to give you better efficient, better performing engine. There's only positives, no negatives, and especially in the case of DB9 on V12s, it reduces the risk of the brick, the ceramic matrix crumbling, perhaps due to misfire, being ingested and failing the engine. If I owned a V12 car, day one of ownership would be to book it in and get those primary cats removed. They just serve me no purpose out in the real world and only offer liability. Hope that rundown of each different exhaust system and what you can do to them helps you out, and we look forward to seeing you on the next forum chat.